So me coming from the Caribbean, that all that you just said just sound like a lot of da 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 da
You mean
da
all the
to
stuff
me
about the African
about the
identity?
African
Yeah.
identity, about how the struggle, how people in Africa were fighting people, and I didn't connect with any of that because those sort of stuff. Me growing up in the Caribbean, we've never been open to any of that. We don't know anything about the link with us to Africa. So, in a sense, we don't understand that there was a fight going on in this part of Africa or which part of Africa. Who, like when you talk about Kumi and Kwame, that is just like in my ears. I didn't connect with any of it. So how can we get people in the Caribbean to understand that, people who want to know, say for instance, to understand that there was a fight, there was a struggle, there was, there's a history beyond slavery, beyond the Caribbean and slavery.
Great. To a certain extent, blasting that sort of stuff out and all that information, I realised there was a lot there, is a way of saying to somebody, how much do you actually know?
About yourself.
Exactly. Because we've done presentation where we talk about things like basic African history. Always African history before, say, the 15th century when Europeans entered there and said it was nothing. And it's essentially African history 101, basic as it comes. But you're surprised how many black people will say, I didn't know any of that. Mm-hmm. And that is the question. Why didn't I know any of that? Why didn't I know really? Why is Kwame Nkrumah
A big
gobbledygook to me?
gobbledygook, yeah.
Because I never heard of him. Without going too deep, there's a guy called Eamon de Valera. He was the leader of the original IRA, the people who fought for independence in Southern Ireland, not the provisional IRA. And he said the best way to deal with the British is to ignore them. Now, that was a standard tactic that was used by the British and still is. So basically, if somebody is a problem, they don't highlight that problem. They don't talk about that problem. They ignore it. They make sure it does not get publicised. They make sure it does not get known.
I can
So
see that.
when you hear of a struggle like, for example, the civil rights movement, everybody celebrates. It's in the press. The Prime Minister's talking about it. The President of the United States talking about it. You know there's a problem there. Why are they so keen to educate us about this? You don't hear about the other issues. So it's not surprising that you don't hear about that stuff because that's the stuff that could really empower you. That's the stuff that could really give you what you need to A, understand yourself and your confidence in yourself, and B, help organise yourself to deal with the problems that you're having. So, no, we don't know about, but we have to know about them. But you have a starting point, and that's what I said about the African identity connects you with other parts of the world. You're no longer just Jamaica, a little island in the Caribbean. Yeah. You begin to see how the little island in the Caribbean connects with all of the other little islands in the Caribbean and the commonalities that you have. You then begin to see how those little islands in the Caribbean connect with that huge continent on the other side of the Atlantic kind of thing. And then you begin to see how that huge continent connects with all those masses of people in North America, in Central America, in South America, in Britain, and so on. All have experienced the similar things that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
The kind of prejudices, the kind of lack of confidence, the prejudice against the way you look, about the way you talk, about your history, and so on. The problems of trying to fit in. You see that they're not just your problem, as it were.
There's
universal.
a wide problem there.
To a certain extent, that helps some people because it's not as individual. Depersonalizes it. Because so many people take it into them and they believe they're at fault. It's them. There's an issue with them. Or they believe that white people don't like us. And so, in turn, they don't like white people. When, of course, it isn't. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with power, it's to do with control, with history. Things that we can change and things aren't about us as individuals. So, yes, you probably won't know half of what I said before. But it's an encouragement to start learning and start looking for sources which are all around. And in the Caribbean, you're surrounded by those sources. You don't see it. You see your grandma. You see what she's done. Learn a little bit more about that, where it came from, why she does it kind of thing. You see lots of black faces around you that have been successful and doing things, not all of them light-skinned, challenging that idea that you have to be light-skinned to be able to achieve and so on. There are things that are on your doorstep that you could learn, but your eyes have to be open so that you can see them and so on. And yes, and I'm hoping that maybe in some of our discussions we can unwrap individual little things and open that learning up.